So I was really looking forward to doing this talk today. Talk after an election to a liberal community. I was feeling a little bit of pain, a little bit of fear. I understand that. I really do. And yet love is my decision. It's a perfect song. We can choose fear. We can choose fear about what we think may happen. We can put out the intentions of all of our fears into the universe, and guess what the universe is doing?
Saying yes.
There's only one answer. That the power that has created everything has always responded in the affirmative. So the more we live in fear, the more we live in our anticipation of dread that our lives will be impacted in some negative way, the more we draw that to us. Because that's the good news and the bad news. It's always working. It's always responding to the tendency of our thoughts. Not each specific one, honestly. Can you imagine? The universe said yes to every specific thought that came into your mind. Oh my goodness. But to the tendency of our thoughts. So if we live in fear, we are bringing about all of those things that we fear by putting all of our emotion, the clarity of our thinking, the power of our inherent life into expressing a negative. Because the universe is saying yes. Or we can choose differently. Or we can be differently. You see, life is inherently emerging out of us. Out of everything. It's the constant back of all of this stuff. It's this infinite power and intelligence that is individualizing through evolution, through all of the expressions of everything, for a greater expression of itself. Each one of us is here by divine appointment to be God experiencing us right now. And that can be a beautiful thing, and we can live in peace and harmony and freedom. Or it can be a terrible thing, and we can live in bondage, lack, and limitation. The choice is ours to make, both individually and on a larger scale. So I was thinking about the talk title this week, which is A Higher Calling. And most people, especially in my profession, tend to think of that as being called towards ministry or called towards being an expression of God. And I want to dial that back just a little bit. You see, in us and as us, there is this thing that is emerging through us. Do you ever get that feeling where you're someplace in your life where you just say, is this all there is? Is this the best that it gets? Because something inside of me is just saying there has to be more to this life than what I'm experiencing right now. Something inside of us is yearning to experience greatness, even if just for a moment. And so a lot of times what we do when that yearning emerges is we start to fill it with things outside of ourselves. It could be drugs and alcohol. It could be relationships. It could be shopping. I like shopping. Shopping's a good one. It could be the accumulation of wealth and goods. Friends. How many people like you on Facebook? The value of my life. Right? I look at Facebook twice a year. Just for you guys who are sending me stuff, so you know, March and right around now. That's the only time I look at Facebook. So if you want to send me something, send it now. But the things that we gauge who we are by are those things outside of ourselves that we accumulate. I am my marriage. I am my children. I am my job. I am the really cool car that I drive. I'm saying that for you, Bill. I am these things that are outside of me that make me feel like I've got enough, that I'm safe and secure, that I'm worth all of this. Now let me get this straight for a second here. Now in New Thought, we are very big on prosperity because this is an infinitely abundant universe, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with having lots of toys. Lots of toys is great if that's what you need to feel safe and secure, to get to a place to realize that the toys don't really matter. So if you need a better car, pray for a better car. I'm down with it. I had a friend of mine when I was in practitioner training was desperately in need of a new car, or a car at that time. And she worked with me on some prayers about it. I really need a car. And so we prayed, and 2 weeks later I gave her my old car. The universe works in funny ways. Okay, so the rest of that is, she said, yeah, this is an okay car. It was a really beat up old Subaru. It must have been about 10 or 12 years old or something like that. Just like, I really was thinking of something better. And it's like, okay, well, let's work on that. So we prayed for a better car for her. And then within a month, she went out and went to a dealership because her entire flow of prosperity had gotten so much better that she was enjoying this prosperous inflow of goods and services and stuff. She went out to a dealership and bought 2 new cars for the price of 1. They were having a 2-for-1 sale at the dealership. And I was like, really? A 2-for-1 sale? So if you need those external things to recognize that this stuff works, that there is a set of principles that we can put into our lives to express good and to experience a better, higher understanding of how our lives work in back of what we see as the conditions, then do that. Because it builds faith. It builds faith for when we get to places where our faith seems weak. A dramatic health challenge. This is a very big thing. This is, well, prayers are not going to work. I better go see 16 specialists. Go ahead and see 16 specialists and pray. Because God's working through all of that. God is expressing all of that for the betterment of life, for a greater experience of life. So, what it comes down to is you can live from the outside in, which is that accumulation of all those things around you, building Fortress You, which seems to be what the country wants to do right now, is build Fortress America. I'm against it. It's one world. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. I'm worried. And that's what I said in the beginning. This is why I'm talking about this. I found myself worrying about what is going to happen, as my friend Dawn was expressing, to women, to girls, the message that they're going to get. What is going to happen to all of those people who are of minority groups? Are they really going to build a wall? And we're really going to have to pay for that? Then we're going to have to pay to tear it down too? I mean, really? Instead, what the calling is for us to look inside and say, where is love now? In me. What the higher calling is if we desire to see a better, more tolerant, loving, peaceful, prosperous world emerge, there's nobody else to do it. There never has been. Nobody out there is going to make it better. We have to start within and recognize that the power and the presence and the love that has always been there is still there. And that by right of that divine inheritance of who we are, individualized expressions of consciousness, God being us right now to experience this as us, it is incumbent upon us to choose where we want to be. And I'm really adamant about this. I can't change you. Nobody can change you. The only person who has any authority in the interior of your soul is you. No one outside can ever change that. We just finished the 4 Agreements class, which was an absolutely delightful class. I just loved it. You know, and they're very simple but very difficult agreements. The first is be impeccable with your word. Do not speak untruth. We have just been subjected to 2 years of untruth. Lots of poison. Your choice to accept it or not. To allow it to interfere with the love that you are or not. Second of those agreements is don't take anything personally. Anybody having a little difficulty with that one this week? Oh my, yes. But in fact, nothing that anybody else does is because of you. It is because of them. They are acting with their own set of beliefs, their own structures, their own good that they are trying to express in the world the way they see the world, and that's why they're acting that way. Just as you are acting upon the same principles that are your own principles and how you act in the world. So don't take anything personally, but be in integrity with yourself to be the person who you are. Here's the higher calling. We're being called to stand up now and be counted for good. To stand up and voice love. To stand up and be the integrity of what we say we want to see in the world. Tolerance and love and peace and acceptance and harmony. And it seems awfully unfair, doesn't it? How come they can mouth off and I have to be loving and tolerant? Because that's what loving and tolerant is to love someone so much that they can begin to love themselves so much that they can begin to see the world in a different way. Number 3 of those agreements is don't make assumptions. Here we go again, right? We've all got assumptions about what is going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. We've all got assumptions about what they meant by that. It's all an assumption. Again, we're building a case in our own mind to allow ourselves not to be love, not to be peace, not to be tolerant, not to be the good that we wish to see in the world. See, new thought is kind of a burden. I hate to tell you this, but when you're free, you're also responsible. That's the 2 sides of new thought. You are absolutely free to think anything you desire to think, to work towards anything you desire to work, and to reap the consequences of anything that you put into intention. And seriously bring your life into alignment with. You're going to experience that. So I'll go back. Don't worry so much. Because that's going with the other direction. And finally, there's always do your best. And this is almost the hardest of these things. Because sometimes determining what our best is the most difficult thing in the world. Because we've been told what our best is by other people outside most of our lives. Is that the best you can do? You can do better than that. You know? So we all have this idea that perfection is not already residing within us. We all have this idea that you have to strive and achieve to be something other than who you are. The reality is you're perfect, whole, and complete right now. You lack nothing. You are as spiritual as you are ever going to get. 100%. Spirit having a human experience. But what it is we all have that internal meter. Anybody not have the internal meter? That says, I could have done that just a little better than that. Yeah, I didn't, I got one. I got a critical one. Goes into red line every now and then, says, wow. Did you really just think you could do that? But on the other side, it's a very fine line about this thing about doing your best. Is it your best? Can you put your pillow on the head, your head on the pillow at the end of the day and said, I did all that I could do today? You know? If you're honest with yourself, you'll say yes. Because it's the end of the day, you put your head on the pillow and you're done working on today. So you've done all that you can do today. If you let go of the judgment about whether or not it was good or bad, whether or not it was appropriate or inappropriate, then you've done all that you can today. If you feel that you can do better, then you probably can. If you feel that you couldn't live up to something, then it seems like there's a place where you might want to look at whether or not that's an agreement that you want to make with yourself about that's who you want to be. Because you can live up to it. You really can. You wouldn't have the desire to if you couldn't. So I want to go back to my original statement about this inner life that wants to express something greater through us. You see, filling it with all that stuff around us is not going to help, ultimately. Although it's fun to drive Maseratis, you know. And it's nice to sit in a jacuzzi in a big house. Those are nice things. Not denying that, you know. But ultimately, if we're not satisfied with who and what we are in the world today, it doesn't matter what's surrounding you. It will not feel good. Yet, if we are who and what we want to be in this moment, as we live this life, as we express the things that we say we would like to experience in life, we will be satisfied, contented with the situation, yet motivated to experience something greater. We're going to do a little meditation later about maybe what that thing is. You see, Spirit is expressing uniquely through each one of us, and each one of us has sets of skills and talents and gifts, some of which we're aware of and some of which we haven't discovered yet. And when we get that feeling, there must be more to this than what I'm experiencing now, we have to stop for a little bit and get quiet about, why do I feel this way? What is it that I think is going to be experienced at a higher level through me if I'm to have this greater life? And the flip side of that, what's blocking me from having this greater life now? Because that's what's stopping us from experiencing, is whatever fear we have of lack or limitation. So Spirit is drawing us forward. There is a higher calling within each one of us that is drawing us for a greater expression of life from the inside out rather than the outside in. And the higher calling is to do all that we can, when we find out what that is, to do all that we can to express that and be that. To be more of what we wish to experience. And I say this all the time. If you want more of something, be that. So if you want to see more love and joy and peace and prosperity and vitality in the world, then you must be that first. Until your cup runneth over. And it spreads outward from who and what you are into something new and wonderful in the world. So, as we go about the week, and as we go a little bit later into the meditation, I invite you to let the chatter of worry and anticipation and assumptions go for just a little bit. And go within to really dive into this idea of what wants to express through me, through these wonderful sets of gifts that I have that are unique to me. Each one of us has a unique set of talents and abilities that we were given to express in this world, whatever they may be. Whatever they may be. Each one of us can express something greater in life through the activities that we engage in, through the thoughts that we think, the intentions that we set, the prayers that we bring forward in our lives and align ourselves with. And then life changes around us and we experience life differently. So that's what I invite you to. Allow yourself a higher calling. Allow yourself to be the greatest you that you can be in any given moment. And love yourself. It's okay. It's all in flux. It's okay to be you. And that's how we make a safe and loving and tolerant society, is when we are each there and we are each willing to stand up to that and say, yes, this is what I believe in. For this is what I believe in. And I invite you to join me on that path. Thank you.